Welcome to the Pain Relief Path podcast, where I dive into the vast world of chronic pain with the occasional help from knowledgeable guests from diverse disciplines that impact your chronic pain. I am your host, Dr. Pan Zhang, physical therapist turned chronic pain coach. I'm here to educate, empower, and encourage you to find your path to a pain-free life. Thank you for listening. Enjoy. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I am in my Christmas jammies because it's almost December. I was going to say it's December, but it's not quite there yet. Tomorrow. But anyway, this is just what's going to be happening for the next month or so. I've got little gingerbread cookies and some coffee for breakfast this morning, so it's a great day. One of the things that I failed to take into consideration when I started Wednesday Walk and Talks outside is that the winters up here are not fun. So right now it is currently sleeting outside after we had probably about a foot of snow dumped on us yesterday. So we're supposed to get another few inches today. I'm not really sure what the rain is doing. It just started happening. So we were staying inside today again, but I have a good episode for you. And one of the things I want to do in the next month, especially within this holiday season, is talk about things that you can do to deal with this holiday season. I know that holidays are not a happy time for everybody. And because of that, if you've had chronic pain issues, or chronic fatigue syndrome, or any sort of chronic illnesses, things actually tend to flare up around this time because, as we've talked about before, pain is a biopsychosocial problem. So your biology might not necessarily change, but your psychology is changing, your social aspect all around you is changing around this time. So I really want to focus on ways to help you get through the next month or so, and hopefully have you have a better holiday season this year. So one of the big things I wanted to talk about is the flare-up, right? One big expectation I want you to have as you're starting this path down through your pain-free life is that you are going to have flare-ups. Expect them. I think that's very important. I think as people go through treatments and as they start gaining traction and they start feeling better, they're like, oh, I'm good. Recovery is going to just be up and up. And we've talked about this in the past, right? It's never a straight line up. Recovery is always up and then maybe a little bit down and then up and then maybe a little bit down. And those downs are those flare-ups. And those are going to happen. It's okay. You're still safe, but I want you to really understand that that's going to happen. When you expect them, it's a normal thing. If you're not expecting them and you start down this path and you're like, I'm never going to have a flare up again, and then you have one, it can be a very, very scary place to be. So I want you, number one, to understand that. So whether or not you're in a flare up right now, hopefully you're not. But if you are, this is also going to be beneficial for you. If you're not, I want you to really think about the last time you were in a flare-up. If you are in a flare-up currently, I want you to think about some of the things that we're talking about right now and kind of stay in tune with some of those things. The first thing I want to talk about with flare-ups is the feelings that you're going to have during a flare-up. The feelings of anxiety, maybe frustration, fear, stress, that feeling of despondency. Okay. I don't want you to let yourself mire in those feelings, but if you are not in a flare-up right now, I want you to just think about the last time you were and see if you can pull up some of those feelings. If you're currently going through a flare-up right now, do these feelings ring true? When I put a name to those feelings, sometimes it helps, or when you put a name to those feelings, sometimes it can help you identify that feeling and then identify the thought behind that feeling. So let's talk about some of the thoughts during a flare-up. And maybe you can resonate with some of these. The thought that This is going to be the rest of my life. This is going to be forever. The question or the thought of, is this ever going to go away? Am I ever going to be quote unquote normal again? Whatever that might mean. The thought that, I just have so much to do. I can't afford this flare up right now. I can't afford the time that I need to do my self care. This is just not working for me. The feeling of I'm not living the life that I want to live right now. The feeling of guilt, even, or the thought of guilt that you, because of your flare up, you can't be there for the people that you think need you, that you feel like you have to be there for, or else their lives fall apart, right? So think about the feelings that you're having during the flare up, and then think about the thoughts behind those feelings. And then what I'd invite you to do is when you are in the middle of a flare up, is think about each of those thoughts and think about, are these thoughts true? Are these thoughts serving you? Are these thoughts really helping you pull yourself up? So if your thought is, this is going to be my life forever, is that helping you? And if it's not, maybe change the way that thought is materializing in your head. And I know you're going to feel a lot resistance with this, and your body almost, in your brain almost wants to stay with that thought, and you almost want to just kind of just stay in that dark place, right? And I don't know why this is. I think it is your brain's way of interpreting how your body's feeling, so it's really hard to pull yourself out of that rut. But if you can start changing your thought a little bit, just a little bit, I don't want you to go from, this is going to be my life forever to it's all rainbows and daisies and sunshine. But if you can find it in like a common ground and take just one step towards more neutral thought, that's going to help you immensely. So let's take the example of maybe the thought of, this is going to be my life forever. Instead of saying, I'm never going to have another flare up, which we all know is true, just you understand that you've gone through flare ups before, and then you've come out the other side, sometimes better, or at least okay, right? So one thought that you can morph that thought of, I'm going to be here forever, is I know that I won't be here forever. I know that this will pass. Try that thought on for size. Whenever you start that feeling that build of anxiety and frustration, and the underlying thought is, oh my gosh, this is going to be the rest of my life. Understand, and from past experiences, that this is not going to be the rest of your life. It's just a flare up. It's just a stage. Something just triggered you a little bit, and that's okay. Your body and your brain are trying to figure out how to deal with these new sensations, this new input, maybe new stress and mental or emotional stress, and that's okay. You're learning right now. You're just learning. That's all it is. Okay, so going from this is going to be for the rest of my life to I know this will pass. Again, I'm not taking you from this is doom and gloom to sunshines and rainbows and daisies, but at least to a neutral affirmation, if you want to call it an affirmation. I know some people don't like that word, but it can just be something, just a message that you're telling yourself. Okay. Another thing that you might be thinking is, my body is failing me. Why does my body hate me so much? And these are questions that you might be asking, or the thought might be, my body hates me, right? And instead of letting yourself sit in that thought, think about, just remember that your body doesn't hate you. It's trying its best. Remember, pain is your alarm system. So all it's trying to do is figure out what's going on, right? So what you can turn my body hates me into is, my body is trying the best it can with the information and tools it has. And it's learning, like we were talking about. My body is learning and changing. If that resonates with you, go for it. The biggest thing is making sure that the thoughts that are coming up are resonating with you in a positive way, or at least a neutral way, not a negative way. And making sure that those thoughts are helping you pull yourself out of that anxiety spiral and that fear spiral. And it's okay. It's completely okay to feel the anxiety and the fear and the frustration build up. And for some people, I actually want you to sit in that a little bit, but I don't want you to spiral out of control there. Okay. And when I say sit in it, I want you to recognize that those are the feelings that are coming up. But I don't want you to go down the anxiety spiral of trying to self-diagnose yourself every time you have a flare-up, because that doesn't help, right? And then you go back to maybe seeing a doctor, and then during the flare-up, the doctors or the medical professionals, as well-meaning as they are, start trying to go down this big rabbit hole of other medical tests and things like that. In the meantime, you're just having a flare-up, right? Now, the caveat to that, what I will say is, if you feel like this is something very different, and you're going to know your body best, if you feel like there is truly something wrong, go get checked out. Okay, go see a medical professional. It's not the end of the world if you do that. And in fact, for a lot of you, that might be the reassurance that you need when a medical professional says, you know, I checked you over, everything looks okay, this might just be a flare-up. But if you do feel like, you know, there's something really, really wrong, I've never felt these feelings before, or my body's never done these things before, go get it checked out. That's all right to do. Okay, because sometimes you just need that external validation to feel safe in your body. Okay. So those are some of the messages that I would encourage you to start talking to yourself about. And if you have any questions or any thoughts that you need help with turning into something more neutral or something more positive, even if you want to go down that route, please drop me a message here and type that thought out. And I can help you find a message that you can think that resonates better for you in a much more positive light. So I also want to talk about what to do. I want to give you some tools to give you to do during a flare-up. So one of the first ones is just breathing. And I know people are like, really, you're going to tell me just to breathe? This is ridiculous. And I'm just breathing right now. I'm sitting here and breathing and nothing's getting better. And you feel that anger and resentment come up, right? But what I will say to that is the intention behind the breath is really important. So yes, I know you're breathing right now. You're with me. You're alive. You're breathing. I get it. But really letting yourself and your brain and your body settle into the feeling of your breath. As you breathe in, you're feeling your chest open and expand and relax. And as you breathe out, letting everything come back and contracting. And then letting the air come in through your nose and out through your mouth if you want to do that type of breathing. Some people don't have great nose breathing. So if you need to do in through the mouth, out through the mouth, whatever works for you. But I really want you to focus on all the sensations that come with the breathing and kind of ground yourself with your breath. That has scientific evidence that is backed, that helps bring down that fight or flight response that your anxiety and fear and frustration kicks up. And it will actually help kind of turn your brain down a little bit. Turn that knob of those racing thoughts, turn that down a little bit. Okay. So breathing is number one. And some people are like, do I have to do this all the time? Am I just going to be sitting there and breathing every 15 minutes when my pain flares up? You know, you don't have to do it for half an hour at a time. Sometimes just taking 1 or 2 breaths, really good, deep, grounding breaths, is all you need to keep yourself from escalating with that anxiety. Okay? So yes, breathe throughout the day. You're doing it anyway. All I'm asking you to do is paying attention. Okay. So breathing is number one. Number two is journaling. So, and this is something that if you have not journaled before and you're in a flare up right now, this may or may not be something that you want to do, because journaling can be something that if you're forcing yourself to do during your flare up, and this is the first time you've ever done it, might be hard. Okay. But so give yourself some grace there. But if this is if you've been having a journaling practice, this is definitely something I want you to make sure you're doing during a flare up. And journaling can be your gratitude journaling, your brain dump journaling, we've talked about in the past. Also, any prompted or guided journaling sessions. Those are all great. Anything to help you focus your thoughts, slow them down, because when you journal and you're writing things out, you have to slow your thoughts down enough to get your thoughts down on paper. That's one of the best things I love about journaling. Okay. The third thing is, again, this is something, if you've done this already, is doing your body scans while you're in a flare up. But I would say that if you have never done a body scan before and just paying attention to your body without going down that anxiety rabbit hole, if you've never done a body scan before, this might not be the best time to do it if you're in the middle and peak of a flare up. But if a body scan is a normal part of your practice and you've done this quite a few times and you feel comfortable with it, this can really help, again, ground yourself in your body instead of letting yourself kind of live in your head and things start spiraling out of control. Okay. And then really, this is for you. If you've been in chronic pain, you've had flare-ups before, and you know a good self-care routine for yourself. So do that. Okay, whether that's a bath, a hot pack, whether it's comfort food or just relaxing with Netflix on or something like that, do your self-care routine to help bring your brain and your body back down to a manageable level. And then the last thing I would really encourage you to do, even during a flare-up, and actually especially during a flare-up, is try to move. And this might be really difficult. Now, I'm not saying exercise, but I want you to move. So don't try not to be in bed all day long. Even if that means just a lap or two around your house, just walking, do that. I know it takes monumental effort. Sometimes it feels like to get yourself out of bed when you're in the middle of a flare up. And those first few steps might feel like you're trying to walk through concrete, but if you can get your body moving, just get some blood flow going, it can actually help with your pain. So do what you can with that. Everybody starts at a different level, so I hesitate to give specific parameters on movement, but what I will say is just do what you're comfortable with. Okay? Now, the key to managing flare-ups is what you're doing in between flare-ups. And this is just your regular path, right? These are the things that we've talked about already. Making sure that you're practicing your body scans when you are feeling safe in your body, when you're not in the middle of a flare-up, much easier to do. And it's much easier to slip into that state of mind when you are in a flare-up if you've already practiced it before and you know the feelings and you know how this is going to feel. I want you to practice your breathing between flare-ups. Again, just grounding yourself with your breath, whether it's a meditation practice, a mindfulness practice, or you're just setting a timer and breathing for 3 to 5 minutes a day. Okay. And then practice positive or at least neutral affirmations. And these are the words or sentences that we've talked about before that help you feel safe in your body. When you're not in the middle of a flare up, it's much easier to go into positive affirmations. So definitely do those. And it's not just speaking those things to yourself, but really feeling those thoughts and those words. And if you can practice this, again, when you're not in that fight or flight state, not in the anxiety spiral, it's much easier to understand the feelings that come with this. And it's much easier to slip into this when you are in the middle of a flare up. And then journaling. We talked about this already. Gratitude journaling, brain dump journaling, guided or prompted journaling, whatever works for you. Some people actually, I actually had a client the other day tell me, like, I don't like to write out my thoughts, but I like to draw out and doodle out my thoughts. That was like actually a first that I've heard. Fantastic. Anything to help slow your brain down. And for her, the drawing and sketching out her thoughts, that's great. She's like visualizing, she's really like actually thinking about her thoughts. So if writing things down doesn't work for you, try that. And then, like I said, the more you practice these things between flare-ups, it is so much easier to get yourself out of that rut when you're in the flare-up, that rut of despondency that you want to stay in, that rut of that negative energy that's just like bubbling there. If you know what that positive or neutral sensation feels like, you actually have a goal, or you know what you're shooting for in the middle of the flare-up. So give this a shot. Don't let your brain and your energy run away with all of those negative feelings. Figure out what the energy state and the mental state you want to be in the flare up, and then shoot for that. Okay. So I'd love to hear from you. What do you do during your flare ups? What's your self-care routine that's always worked for you? And out of these things, what do you feel like you are looking forward to the most in practicing? Again, it gets a little lonely on this side of the screen, and I have gotten some messages from you guys and I love them. So I always makes my day when I hear from you. So if you want, shoot me a message at pan@painreliefpath.com, or you can just leave me a message down here and I will definitely get back to you. All right. Have a wonderful week. I will see you all next week for some version of a Wednesday Walk and Talk. All right. Have a great one, guys. Bye.